Another response to the change of leadership in Washington is a nonpartisan, faith-based forum. This will be a conversation about the responsibility of the Black church in the age of Trump. Our guests are two of the faith leaders taking part, Pastor Ezedi from Empowerment Christian Church and Reverend Joseph Rocha from Grace Church of All Nations in Dorchester. Thank you both very much for being with us. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
I want to start with Pastor Ezedi. You were one time a political candidate as well as a person of faith. Talk about this juncture here. What are we coming into?
We're in a unique time. And as we talk about how the church positions ourselves for this time, what the church represents has always been light. What the church represents is love. What the church represents is truth, especially when it comes to speaking truth to power. What the church represents is hope, and that's what people are looking for. That's what people need. When the election happened, I got calls from numerous individuals that were falling into depression. They were anxious. They were worried. What does a Trump presidency mean for not only our community, but for the nation and for the globe internationally? I got calls from family members in Nigeria about what's happening. What is this going to mean? And this is always my response. I'm a man of faith. I'm a pastor. Trust God. In all things, trust God. Because at the end of the day, no matter who's president, we've got to put our faith in the one who ultimately is going to be ultimately is going to have all of the is going to say the right, the wrong, and good, bad, and indifferent.
Reverend Rocha, you're in charge of the men's programs in your church. What do you hear from the men about this?
Well, certainly I concur with what Pastor Ezedi has said, that there were some that were concerned, and there were some that were angry, and then there were some that were more faith-based, and they said whatever comes, comes. But I think that as the leader of the men at Grace, we always try to inspire them with the word and the truth. We talk to them about scriptures and about how we hold on, how we have the faith, and how Christ came, and how Christ showed us the way, you know what I mean? To endure trials and tribulations. They will come. I have never met a man, a child, or a woman that has never experienced tribulations, but he said that he would be with us always, you know what I mean? So we got to have that faith, and based on that faith, we can deal with the crises that we face, and we face many crises, and many are monumental and some are small. But whenever you face a crisis, there has to be a decision that has to be made. And if we base our decisions on the faith and the belief and trust that we have, then we'll be able to make it through.
We're talking with Reverend Joseph Rocha from Grace Church of All Nations and Reverend Pastor Ezedi. Pastor, what about the kinds of concerns that the people in your congregation have that will be affected by the leadership? I'm thinking with education, healthcare, criminal justice.
Healthcare, criminal justice, you name it. The concerns are varied, and there are many. But again, ultimately, I believe God's will is going to be done. Albert Einstein said that it's in the midst of difficulty that we find opportunity. So my encouragement to them and to those that are concerned is, let's find the opportunity in the midst of this difficulty. We can sit back and we can think about, or we can talk about the past, but the reality is that we're going into a new administration. How are we going to get in and fit in where we need to make sure that those who we represent, that those who we speak for, are their interest is going to be represented at whatever seat of the table there is. So we've got to make sure that that's done, and that's been my encouragement. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope, because we can't stop fighting.
Yes. Reverend Rocha, I mean, it sounds like there's a need for conversation here about what you got to do to look out for the congregation. Do you have to be more diplomatic with the power in Washington, or do you have to be, working on a different track, get out there, be more activist out front? What do you think?
Well, we always talk about civility and diplomacy and stuff like that, and how to deal with leaders. Certainly keep them in our prayers, but we have to be reactive. We cannot be reactive. We've got to be proactive, and being proactive means that we're at that table and we have a voice to speak. So for those that Pastor Ezedi has said that are disenfranchised, that do not have that voice, we got to be that voice. We've got to inspire them that when issues affect them, whatever affects them, whatever issue it may be, whether it might be in the areas that you talked about previously, Chris, as far as education and poverty and criminal justice and employment and all these other issues that face us, how does the powers to be, how do they relate to us? And how do those policies relate to us? That there be a fairness, that there be equality, that there be a racial balance. I mean, I think that many of these things are precipitated on racial division. And that's something that we cannot allow to have, because it divides the country. And I've never seen the country divided so much as it has been during this political climate and things like that. So we've got to do a healing, and the healing is by talking, by coming together. It was amazing when I was watching the Globe events last night on TV. The award in Hollywood, where Meryl Streep said that, we cannot allow the powers of people that are in powerful positions to mock others that might have disabilities, the reporter she talked about. But certainly during the campaign, there was rhetoric that talked about denigrating and derogatory messages that were sent out against people that are of different ethnicities and races and genders and religious beliefs. We cannot allow that to happen. And we can't allow people to get intimidated by that. And we've got to allow the press, and the press has to stand up and fact check these things and speak what is really happening, you know what I mean, and not be intimidated. So I think that along with that, with people coming together, with people being proactive, that we'll have a voice, that we can speak to the powers that be to say that this is how things should be, and we need to be at that table.
By the way, the forum will take place Wednesday, January 18th, 6 p.m. at Grace Church of All Nations at 451 Washington Street in Dorchester. That's at the corner of Park Street. And up ahead, we'll have sports with Pat Flaherty.